You see, every time you come up with an excuse, what you're really doing is building yourself a little safety net inside your comfort zone. It feels good in the moment because it protects you from the sting of failure, from the pressure of accountability, from the discomfort of actually having to stretch yourself. That's why excuses are so seductive. They let you stay where you are while convincing yourself that you have a valid reason for not moving forward. But here's the truth. Comfort zones are cages. They're decorated nicely. They feel warm. They give you a false sense of security, but they are still cages. And every time you choose an excuse, you're locking yourself deeper inside. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself you didn't have the time, or you didn't have the money, or you didn't have the right connections? And yet, someone out there with less time, less money, and fewer connections found a way to make it happen. So is it really the lack of resources? Or is it the abundance of excuses? We all get the same 24 hours. The difference is some people use those hours to build, and some use them to justify why they're not building. And the ones who build, the ones who rise, they aren't living in a different universe. They're just refusing to hide behind excuses. The problem with excuses is that they feel harmless in the moment, but they steal your potential little by little. You tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow. And tomorrow becomes next week, next month, next year. And before you know it, the opportunity that was in front of you is past. And you're left with regret instead of results. That's the cost of excuses. They don't just keep you from moving forward. They create a habit of postponing your destiny. And once that habit sets in, it becomes a way of life. You start excusing everything: your health, your career, your relationships, your dreams. Before long, you're not even aware you're doing it because it's second nature. You've got to wake up to the fact that every excuse you make is costing you something. It's costing you progress. It's costing you growth. It's costing you the life you keep saying you want. Excuses might make you feel safe now, but they are robbing you of your future. And the crazy part is, most of the excuses you make are based on fear that doesn't even exist. Fear of failing, fear of being judged, fear of not being good enough. But the only real failure is refusing to try. The only real judgment is the one you'll pass on yourself years from now when you look back and realize you let your excuses hold you hostage. So the next time you feel an excuse rising up, stop and ask yourself, is this excuse protecting me, or is it keeping me stuck? And if you're honest, you already know the answer. Stop making excuses for yourself. The moment you decide to stop making excuses, the next step is ownership. And I don't mean partial ownership. I don't mean picking and choosing what you take responsibility for. I mean full, complete, unshakable ownership of your life. Because until you own it, you can't change it. As long as you're blaming the economy, your upbringing, your boss, your family, your lack of opportunities, you're giving away your power. You're putting the keys to your life in someone else's hands and expecting them to drive you to your destination. That's never going to happen. No one's coming to save you. No one's coming to hand you your dream. The second you accept that truth, you become free. Ownership is hard because it forces you to look in the mirror and face the reality that you are exactly where you are because of choices you've made. And yes, some things might not have been your fault. Life throws curveballs, unexpected challenges, unfair breaks. But here's the part people miss. You may not be responsible for how something started, but you are responsible for how it ends. You might not control the cards you were dealt, but you absolutely control how you play them. That's what ownership is about. It's saying, no matter what happened, I'm going to decide what I do next. Think about the people who inspire you, the ones who went from nothing to something, the ones who turned pain into power. Do you think they got there by pointing fingers? Do you think they got there by waiting for someone to apologize for what life did to them? No. They got there by taking ownership, by saying, it's on me. That phrase, it's on me, is one of the most liberating things you can ever say. Because once it's on you, you don't have to wait anymore. You don't have to hope somebody comes along to fix it. You don't have to keep complaining about how unfair it is. You just move. You take control. And when you live with ownership, something powerful happens. You start to see that your results are tied directly to your actions. If you're winning, it's because you're putting in the work. If you're losing, it's because there's something you're not doing yet. That's clarity. That's freedom. Because now, instead of wondering why life isn't fair, you start asking, what can I do better? How can I grow? What do I need to change? Ownership keeps you hungry. It keeps you accountable, and it keeps you honest with yourself. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's painful sometimes, but I'd rather live with the pain of responsibility than the pain of regret, because regret lingers. Regret whispers to you at night, Regret reminds you of the chances you didn't take, the effort you didn't give, the opportunities you let slip away because you kept waiting on someone else to do what only you could do. So stop handing your power over to excuses and circumstances. Take ownership of your life, because the second you do, you unlock the power to change it. Excuses sound good in your head, but they don't put food on the table. They don't pay the bills. They don't move the needle forward in your life. You can convince yourself all day long why you can't do something. But at the end of the month, when the rent is due, when your kids need you, when your dreams are waiting, those excuses don't show up to cover the cost. Action does. Discipline does. Effort does. Excuses are like smoke. They disappear the moment reality demands something real. And the truth is, nobody out here is cashing in on excuses. The world pays results, not reasons. Every time you lean on an excuse, what you're really saying is that comfort matters more than progress. And progress has a price. Success has a price. Peace of mind has a price. You can't swipe an excuse at the register and expect to walk out with what you want. You've got to put in sweat, time, energy, consistency. That's the currency. That's the real transaction. Excuses keep you broke, not just financially, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally. They keep you in a cycle of waiting, wishing, hoping instead of doing. Think about it. You can sit on the couch and say, I don't have the energy. But what's that excuse going to give you? Nothing but more days wasted, more opportunities missed. You can say, I don't have the right connections. But has an excuse ever introduced you to someone that could change your life? No. What changes your life is putting yourself out there, knocking on doors, reaching out, doing the uncomfortable work that builds relationships and opens opportunities. Excuses create nothing. Action creates everything. The problem is excuses give temporary relief. They let you feel okay about not pushing today. But relief is not reward. Relief doesn't give you the satisfaction of progress. It doesn't build anything lasting. It just delays the inevitable truth that nothing changes until you move. And the longer you delay, the heavier the weight becomes. That's why so many people feel stuck, because they've been stacking excuses for so long that the pile feels too high to climb. But the way out isn't more excuses. It's one choice, one step, one action repeated over and over until the results speak for themselves. You've got to make up your mind that you're done investing in excuses, because excuses have zero return. You pour your time, your energy, your focus into them, and they give you nothing back. But when you invest those same things into action, into discipline, into showing up day after day, the return compounds, the growth compounds, and eventually your results will silence every excuse you ever thought you had. So remember this: excuses don't pay the bills, action does. Too many people are living their lives based on feelings, waiting until they feel motivated, waiting until they feel inspired, waiting until they feel like putting in the work. But feelings are unreliable. They change with the weather. They shift with your mood. They come and go like the wind. If your actions are tied to your feelings, you'll never build consistency. And without consistency, you'll never build anything that lasts. Discipline is what separates those who talk about it from those who live it. Discipline doesn't ask you how you feel. It tells you what needs to be done and demands that you follow through. You think the people at the top of their game always feel like doing the work. No, they feel tired. They feel stressed. They feel distracted, just like you. The difference is they don't give their feelings the final say. They get up and do it anyway. They go to the gym when they don't feel like it. They study when they don't feel like it. They make the call. They send the email. They put in the hours when their body and mind are telling them to quit. That's the price of success. Doing what's necessary, not just what's comfortable. Feelings tell you to sleep in. Discipline tells you to get up. Feelings tell you to quit when it gets tough. Discipline tells you to push through. Feelings tell you to take shortcuts. Discipline tells you to stay the course. Every time you choose discipline over feelings, you're building a stronger version of yourself. And the more you choose discipline, the more you realize that the feelings eventually catch up. You don't feel like working out, but once you do it, you feel better. You don't feel like tackling that project, but once it's done, you feel accomplished. Discipline creates the feelings you were waiting on. That's the secret most people never discover. The truth is, the life you want will demand more from you than you feel like giving. And that's why so many never reach it, because they let their emotions run their decisions instead of their commitments. If you let feelings run your life, you'll always be a prisoner to whatever mood you wake up in. But if you let discipline run your life, you'll be free, because freedom is found in knowing you can trust yourself to follow through no matter how you feel. At the end of the day, feelings are fleeting, but discipline is permanent. Feelings can change in a second, but discipline builds habits, and habits build your future. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel motivated. You just need to move. Because once you choose discipline over feelings, you unlock a life feelings alone could never give you. The stories you tell yourself shape everything about the way you live. Every excuse you make is just another story, another narrative you've created to explain why you can't, why you won't, why it's not possible. And the danger is, if you repeat those stories long enough, you start to believe them. You start to build your identity around them. You start to live smaller, think smaller, dream smaller, all because of a script you wrote in your own mind. That's the trap of excuses. They become the story that defines your reality. But here's the good news: you are the author. You're not stuck with the story you've been telling yourself. You have the power to rewrite it. You can decide that instead of telling yourself you're not good enough, you're going to tell yourself you're capable of growth. Instead of repeating that you don't have the resources, you're going to start telling yourself you're resourceful. Instead of saying you failed too many times, you're going to remind yourself that every failure is proof that you're still in the fight. The story you choose to believe will either limit you or launch you. Think about the difference between someone who says, I'm just not the type of person who can be disciplined, and someone who says, I'm becoming the type of person who keeps promises to myself. Same circumstances, same challenges, but two completely different outcomes because of the story being told. The first story locks you in place. The second story creates movement. The words you attach to your life matter because your mind listens, your body listens, your spirit listens. And don't get it twisted. Rewriting your story doesn't mean lying to yourself or pretending everything is easy. It means choosing a perspective that empowers you instead of paralyzes you. Life is hard, yes. You've been through things that hurt, yes. But you get to decide whether that story ends in defeat or in resilience. You get to decide if the pain you went through becomes the excuse you lean on or the fuel you rise with. That's the difference between people who stay stuck and people who transform their lives. Every time you repeat an excuse, you're reinforcing a weak story. Every time you repeat a declaration of possibility, you're reinforcing a strong one. Which one do you think is going to build momentum? Which one do you think is going to give you the strength to keep going when it gets tough? Your story is either your prison or your passport. And the crazy thing is, the choice is yours every single day. So if you've been living with a script that keeps you small, it's time to pick up the pen and rewrite it. Because once you change the story you tell yourself, you change the life you're able to live. Every time you give yourself an excuse, you're not just avoiding the work in that moment. You're pushing your future further and further away. That dream you keep saying you want, that vision you play over and over in your mind, it doesn't get closer just because you think about it. It only gets closer when you move. Excuses act like a pause button, but the truth is, life doesn't pause. Time keeps moving, opportunities keep passing, and the world keeps spinning whether you act or not. Every delay, every I'll start tomorrow is creating distance between where you are and where you could be. Think about how many times you've said, I'll get serious next week, or I'll start after the new year, or I'll do it when things calm down. How many of those moments piled up into months, maybe even years? And now you look back and you realize that all those little delays added up to lost time you can't get back. That's the price of excuses. They don't just slow you down. They steal from you. They steal your progress, your growth, your opportunities. And the longer you let them control you, the heavier the loss becomes. You've got to understand that your future self is depending on the choices you make right now. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, the person you become is shaped by whether or not you stop making excuses today. Imagine that version of you stronger, more disciplined, more successful, living the life you're dreaming about. That version is waiting, but it won't exist if you keep delaying. You can't build tomorrow if you keep postponing today. And here's the painful truth: opportunities don't always come back. That chance to start your business, that chance to improve your health, that chance to repair that relationship, if you keep pushing it off, it may not be there when you finally decide you're ready. The window closes, the moment passes. Life doesn't wait for you to get comfortable. Life rewards those who step up when it matters, not when it's convenient. You've got to start asking yourself, how many more excuses can I afford? How much longer am I willing to trade my future for temporary comfort? Because every excuse buys you comfort in the moment, but costs you everything in the long run. And when you finally run out of tomorrows, when you finally run out of chances, excuses won't be there to save you. They'll just leave you with regret. So stop pushing your future away. Stop stalling on your dreams. Stop believing you've got unlimited time to get it right. You don't. What you do today is the only thing that matters, And every excuse you cut out of your life brings you one step closer to the future you've been waiting for.